So maybe you've had a stage 1 tune, maybe you're totally stock and you just want to look for a little bit more noise. Maybe you're trying to keep down those intake air temperatures. What's the next logical step? You could go stage 2 by putting in a new downpipe, going stage 2 tune, or you could start just improving that stage 1 airflow and intake temps. And that's what I did here. So I've got Integrated Engineering's intake on with the carbon fiber lid. And personally, I'm not a big fan of going crazy with carbon fiber, but this thing looks really good in the engine bay. So I hope this video helps you figure out the install. It's really straightforward, relatively easy. And take a listen at the end because it sounds really good. And one more thing that I want to add is that I know a lot of people say like doing an intake and an aftermarket intake doesn't provide that much performance gains. It's just really hard to say that when it just sounds like it does. All right, before we put all of these parts on the car, let's just go over what it all comes with. Obviously, you get an air filter, you get the housing for all of this. It comes as a 2-piece part that you bolt together. The grommets come loose in the kit, so make sure you put those in before you try and shove them in the car. This is the coolant hose replacement. It comes with a couple of quick like nipples to put over the ends so you don't lose a bunch of coolant. If you're not putting the carbon lid on, it comes with a nice little weather stripping piece that goes along this top section here. And then all these parts for this bit that goes back to the turbo inlet elbow. And so you've got a section here. If you're using the stock turbo inlet, there's a part that they had a part number on there when I took it out of the box, but they give you also one that if you're not using the stock turbo inlet. So eventually I'll be swapping over to that, but I've got this piece here. This hard piece that goes in the middle here is actually longer on one section than the other, and so the portion that is longer goes toward the back of the car, and then short bit goes onto this short elbow that will attach to where the air filter goes. If you're running GTI that has a secondary air intake, there's a little piece for that goes right here instead of this plug, but for the Golf R, it doesn't need it. So let's get this in the car. All right, getting started on this intake removal. We're going to take off this hose clamp here. We're going to take off the hose that's here on the side, and this box is literally just going to pick up and lift out of here. The hardest part about all this is going to be just disconnecting this coolant hose and trying not to drip too much coolant all over the place. This bit has given me some trouble in the past too. It gets a little hung up in there, but it's relatively easy to pull out. This stock air box is going to come out very quick, and then this stuff is going to go in nice and easy. All right, the first bit I'm going to do is take this clamp off and stick it back here. Let's pop off this back here. Let's take the hose out here. Let's take that off. With those two things disconnected, this entire box will literally just lift up and out of here. All right, so there's 3 grommets on this. This one on the right-hand side comes up really easy, especially if you've taken the intake off the car a couple times. And you just pull straight up, and it will start to make its way out. Be careful of this tube that's on the bottom here. If you're not careful, you could probably snap that off, so just be cautious. Next thing I'm going to tackle is taking this piece off. I believe the stock location for this bit is in a really awkward position. I repositioned it so it was really easy for me to get to with a small ratchet. So you might have to get creative with an extension and swivel, or maybe even a right angle screwdriver. Let's see if I've got one here. Right. Something potentially like this. So, relatively inexpensive if you don't have a whole lot of tools with you, but just got to get creative to get that one off. All right, let's pretend to be safe, and we're just gonna stuff something in there, just so something random doesn't fall in there, like, oh man, I dropped that socket in there. All right, the next item that's gonna come off is this front piece here. There's just a T25 holding on the left and right side, and then we'll see how it comes off. All right, so getting this piece off is relatively simple. You're gonna wanna pop out the coolant hose here. We'll get that out here in just a second. But there's kind of a clip here And if you kind of pull up on this while you push down on this piece, it'll just kind of pop out. And you'll do that on both sides while you try not to break it. There we go. And now it'll start to come back, and yeah, getting this coolant line out here will make it a whole lot easier. Okay, so this is the point where we're going to replace the coolant line. So if you haven't already done so, take off your engine cover. I've got the Euro cover here also, so I had to take that out as an extra bit. So now this is the coolant line. Let's grab some pliers. And we've got our nipples here. They're just here for a really brief period for you to slip this off, deal with your coolant line, and then slip it back on. So I like to do this top portion first. Once we get this out, I think if you hold it up, it might allow some coolant to drain down in there. Let's go ahead and get this line wiggled off of here. There we go. We got that pulled back. All right, here it comes. It's going to come quick. There we go. Nothing came out of that one. Just took it off real easy, and I could kind of hear vacuum pulling some of that coolant out. I'm going to see if maybe I can get some of this to drain down in here. Ooh, yep. I opened up that line. I could kind of hear some coolant draining down in there. All right, so I'm sure there's still coolant in here. I just flung some out. I'm going to get a little bit more paper towel for this bottom section, since this is where I had previously, when I did this before, some coolant really come out of this side. Ooh, there we go. We had some come out. I forgot to get this guy ready. And I'm not going to worry about actually even putting it on because nothing's really flowing out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the new hose here. I'm going to slide it over the end on this side. Let's go ahead and slide it on over here. And I've already got my clamps in place on the hose here. So I'm going to grab the old coolant line out of here and try not to spill any more coolant all over the engine bay. All right, let's tighten these lines up on here. All right, so now our coolant line is in. All right, so the next thing that you want to do is take the supplied hardware now and start assembling it. These are a 4mm Allen button head, so make sure you have a 4mm Allen. You'll be good to go. If you have the carbon fiber cover, there are some really tiny Allens on there that are 2.5mm, so make sure you have one of those as well. All right, now once you've got this piece all assembled here, you're gonna just slide it in. You're going to kind of take it to where it goes underneath in here, and you're just gonna line it up with the two grommets that it lines up with and just press them down firmly until they pop in place. And the coolant line will just sit right underneath there. There we go, that's in. So if you don't have the carbon cover, you can go ahead and put the screw in on this side, but I'm gonna wait and do that because the carbon lid will sit in there, screw in here, screw in here. And actually, with these screws, and maybe even this one over here, I'd throw a little bit of Loctite on them. I had one of these vibrate out and walk away on me, so I'd go ahead and put some Loctite on there if you have it. And then the next thing that you're going to do after you get your tray in there is start assembling all these pieces. I already have mine all pre-assembled and kind of in the right orientation, but what you're going to want to do is just kind of put these all on together loosely so that when you stick it in here, you can kind of twist and rotate and get everything to the right orientation. So, this short elbow goes to the intake or to the filter. This long bend goes back here to the inlet elbow. And take my paper towel out so I don't suck that up. One thing that's really cool about these inlet pieces that I didn't show you is that there are stops on the inside of these silicone pieces, so that way you know how far you're supposed to slide these pieces on. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my filter on. Make sure you put this logo on facing the right direction, or else I'm going to give you a hard time about that if I ever see that. but it slips right over this bit here. Perfect. Adjust your clamp so that it looks nice and pretty. Push it on there. That's in there. This all might seem kind of loose, but we're going to tighten that up with that carbon lid. All right, so now it's time to fit this sweet carbon fiber cover. Let's see if I don't break it or chip it. I've left this screw off over here so I can use this to kind of move around. I found that this is a little bit easier when things are movable, flexible. You'll want to get the leading edge of this carbon fiber underneath this bit here, and this tab underneath here that will screw in. And there's 6 2.5 millimeter button head screws, so make sure you have your 2.5 millimeter Allen handy. This doesn't like to just set in here nicely, so you're gonna have to, I like to get one screw in back here to help hold up this back end and then start working my way down. And because these are so tiny, and I've actually had one vibrate off and walk away on me, they're so tiny that they're very easy to lose. So I'll link in the description where you can get these, or at least provide some information of the correct size, and also for the washer on them. Actually, I'll do that for both sizes. And the last time I bought some of these, I should have bought some extra just in case, but I was like, no, I'll just buy just enough. No, just enough is just fine. Idiot. See? There it went. God dang it. It sounds like it's on the under tray, but that might take a while to find. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these screws in. Maybe Integrated Engineering will watch this and say, you know what? Maybe we should send some extra screws out to people because they are so small and easy to lose. And the other thing you want to be really careful with is that you don't want to over tighten these because, you know, you're screwing into a brass insert that's in this carbon fiber. And if you get too crazy with it, you can crack some stuff, you know? I'm just going to loosely install all these and then I'll go back and tighten everything up. You know what? Putting a little bit of Loctite on these too, it's probably not a terrible idea. Now, time to put these 4 millimeter screws in place. I'm going to do this a little bit loose. Make sure I can get both sides in. There, it's all in. Everything's all tightened up. Yep, everything looks good. I just got to try and find that one screw. Oh man, I almost forgot. I always forget about this little hose here. There's a little elbow down on the bottom there. Make sure you plug that guy in. All right, here's a final look at this carbon fiber piece and this intake. I'm not the biggest fan of carbon fiber, but this looks really good. I just want to show you real quick. This is what it looks like where the screws are on the back side of this. And I was actually able to find the last screw that I dropped down in there. Got that baby there. We've got the screws in here on the sides, and you know, you've got your intake right there. Now, one thing that I've noticed about this intake and this cover is that, you know, this is designed for all Mark 7s. I've noticed on some GTIs, I don't know if it's newer or older GTIs for the Mark 7, the windshield washer bottle reservoir comes up right here, and that's, I believe, the reason for this cutout. So it would be nice if there was an R specific one that would go and cover this up, but I don't know. It fits, it looks nice. You can see the filter, looks kind of cool, whatever. All right, so it's a rainy day here, but I just got the car warmed up and I'm just gonna see if I can give you a little bit of sound on this intake. All right, so I've got it in full race mode right now. No exhaust mods, I have the sound actor turned off. The only intake mod that I have is the intake itself. I have the high pressure fuel pump, but I'm right now on the stage 1 91 tune with Integrated Engineering. Lots of slip. It's wet out. I hope you guys can hear that. It sounds pretty good. And this car, I don't think, you know, a lot of people like to do exhaust mods. I don't know that these cars sound all that great with exhaust. It's just loud tractor noises. I'm totally happy with the stock catback. Once I get a downpipe on this thing, it's going to be perfect. Maybe even a little too much for me, but yeah. The fact that there's no performance gains and that it doesn't sound all that wonderful, I'm okay with that. All right, here we go from a stop. Just gonna roll into it since it's wet out. It's not too bad. It sounds really good. It sounds really good. Real nice. We're in second gear. Oh, this is so fun. I miss this intake. The stock intake has no noises whatsoever. Let's pull back in the garage and take some real good sound clips for you. All right, I'm in the garage now. I've still got the car running. Hood is closed. Let's just see what the rev, if we can hear anything from the intake. I'll show you the RPMs. All right, so now with the hood open, let's get some sounds. What do you think? Sounds all right? It goes whoosh, whoosh.
Do you go around the neighborhood doing that?
Yes. All right. Sounds pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Sounds good?
Yeah.